Dear Professor Jackson, dear friends of Professor Jackson, dear Professor Edenhofer, Frau Edenhofer, lieber Herr Edenhofer Junior, sehr geehrter Herr Dr. May, sehr geehrter Herr Dr. Merck, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear students, welcome to this year's climate lecture. It has become a tradition to have this climate lecture. This idea has been born in 2008 on the event of the inauguration lecture of Professor Edenhofer, and at that time my predecessor, Professor Kutzler, and Professor Edenhofer had the idea that this topic is so much up to date every year and should actually be in our focus for the coming years that they decided to introduce this climate lecture as a regular event of our academic calendar. And it took place for the very first time in 2009, and it has really become one of the key elements of our academic year. To have a good introduction to the general topic of climate change mitigation, measures and whatever we need there, Professor Edenhofer and myself promised some students last year to give them the stage for a few moments. What's the background? There is a group of students, and you will see them later on also in our Lichthof at the Light Hall, because they are wearing very good visible green t-shirts. I can already see them from the stage up here. They are highly dedicated to the topic of climate change and to the responsibility of each one of us. Their club originates actually from South Korea. It has spread over the world. They're doing different projects. They have already conducted a conference here at our place, and Professor Edenhofer and myself, we consented to give them the floor for a couple of moments with an image film of their group, so please film up. I think that it's a perfect thing to notice that our students are very much aware of the challenges we are facing, and those of you who are interested to get in touch with them, they will be at the reception later on, so feel free to contact them. I think with this we got a very proper introduction into the topic here today, and we are exploring actually something new too, and that is a new format of the climate lecture today. So you won't have a single lecture of one of our key persons, neither from Professor Jackson nor from Professor Edenhofer, but they will have a panel discussion. And I was so lucky that I was present at the press conference, and they already did a little warm-up with respect to the discourse we are going to experience. And at this point, I would also like to welcome Frau Prinzler, who is going to be the maître de plaisir here this afternoon and will put a little sparks of ignition into the discussion from time to time. And this way, we hope that it's going to be a very lively discussion. So for me, it only remains to say thank you to Professor Jackson again for coming, for taking the effort to be here. To Professor Edenhofer, who never becomes tired to keep the spirit of this lecture alive and is also of greatest importance in selecting the key persons to be invited. And last not but least, we have to thank Vattenfall, as they are sponsoring the event. Those speakers are sometimes not the very cheapest, and the reception also costs a little bit of money. So we are very grateful that Vattenfall has taken over that commitment already for a couple of years, and so also thank you very much to our sponsor. And I pass on the floor to Frau Prinzler, who should be somewhere around here for the continuation of this afternoon. Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me also warmly welcome you to this very interesting debate that we will be heading forward to. I'm really looking forward to the debate that we will be having. Let me just briefly tell you about the proceedings. You will see me just a second here on stage. Then you will have a very warm welcome speech from Vattenfall. And afterwards you will see Tim Jackson making his arguments. And after that, Professor Edenhofer replying. And then when they both are finished, I will try to find what are common ground of the two of them and where we can really dispute and where they will dispute each other. Let me really briefly tell those in the room who don't know them. I think most of the people that are here actually came because they know at least one of the two. Nevertheless, Professor Tim Jackson, I think, became famous because of one book that had been published in Germany in a not very well-known publishing house. Nevertheless, it became somehow a secret bestseller. It's called Prosperity Without Growth. Professor Jackson is Professor of Sustainable Development at the University of Sussex, and I would say in a nutshell that he has the opinion that growth is rather part of the problem than part of the solution. Whereas Professor Edenhofer, whom I think don't have to present to most of those here in the room, he's professor at this university, he's a lot of other things, a whole list that I probably can't read out today because we still won't have time to debate the issues. He is deputy director of the PIC, and he also has written on the question of growth and climate change. And to say it briefly, he would probably rather say growth is part of the solution and not part of the problem. They will be pretty much debating this issue, and they will both make their arguments much more elaborate than I can do it at the moment. I think we should welcome now first the representative of Vattenfall, Mr. May, to very briefly welcome us, and then we will have first Tim Jackson, second Professor Edenhofer, both of them talking about 20 minutes, half an hour, and then I will have them debating over there at the chairs. And if we have some time left over, you will be able to ask a couple of questions. So I'm sure whatever you think about growth tonight, at least your knowledge about the issue will be growing and will have grown after the debate. So welcome the first speaker and have a great evening.
So, dear Professor Steinbach, Professor Edenhofer, Professor Jackson, ladies and gentlemen. It is both an honor and a pleasure for me to welcome you to this year's edition of the Climate Lectures. We here in the room, but also we at Vattenfall, feel very proud to be a partner of this Climate Lecture series. And I would like to pay a big compliment to the initiators of this event, Professor Edenhofer, Professor Steinbach, and of course the protocol team of the Technical University of Berlin. Personally, I'm very much looking forward to what I hope will be a stimulating and inspiring debate, featuring Professor Jackson's controversial and provocative thesis that prosperity is possible without growth. I'm sure you will agree that growth, or maybe that is the wrong word, even better, development is a substantial character of all living systems. Basically, it's what distinguishes living beings from dead ones. It is an interesting discussion now, also with respect to the experience, to the crisis, and so on, how to balance between necessary development or growth, and is there a link to sustainability and wealth, and how to tackle these questions. It seems to be a common sense to assume that societies or economies can best survive in the long term with growth, development, and innovations, and will be weakened over time if not. So economic growth so far is also reflected in the increasing demand of natural resources like oil, water, and food. Most of the resources come increasingly under pressure as population grows and what kind of pursuit of happiness drives. So how to balance expectations on wealth by looking to the societies worldwide on their way into the future. And all of them can compare themselves with a more mature world at us. And it was a good movie about that, looking to maybe the two angles. Sorry. Especially when we consider that more than 1 billion people lack access to electricity, water supply, clean water. Growth for them is not about getting up in the middle of the night to curl up for the latest IT gadget with a fruity logo. They get up in the middle of the night to walk miles and miles just to fetch water, walk to school or to find paid work, if they are lucky. So poverty for many people is a stark reality. And even in a world region as comparatively sheltered and well-off as Europe, only 200 million of the billions of people are living here, are feeling at the moment very scared about the ongoing economic, financial, and budgetary crisis. So for them, the truth is losing jobs and homes, companies going bankrupt, pensions being cut. But this is not a doom and gloom story. It is not growth or no growth. We will see maybe some answers to that during the evening. So sustainable development, innovation, and technological progress are non-linear game changers. In our business sphere, this progress put a special focus on energy efficiency. As an example for the energy business within cities like Berlin, the supply of energy-efficient district heating in Berlin and Hamburg, and as a professional engineer, I can assure you that there are wealth of activities underway to increase the efficiency. So we promise to decrease by 2020 the emissions here in Berlin by another 1 million and half them in comparison to 1990. So allow me to close up with a few words about Vattenfall's climate challenge. We are one of the major European energy utilities. We have, no doubt about that, fossil-based generation capacities as well. And we are very aware of the climate challenge that we are facing. We are part of the problem, and we understand that. But we have every intention to becoming a part of the solution as well. I'm sure that today's climate lecture will contribute to increase the awareness of the role of the climate challenge in the context of economic growth patterns. So I wish you an inspiring evening and enjoy the discussion that we will face. Thank you very much.